All right, I want to put this out there for all those that don't know that teachers can be bullies. I've been talking about it for a while until I put my little project together. This is my best way of showing y'all. Y'all can go to the website and look for it. The problem of teachers bullying students is more common than you think. Learn how to prevent your child from becoming a victim. In recent years, a slew of books have offered parents ample insight into the minds of young bullies. But what if the teacher who screams, threatens, or uses bite and sarcasm to humiliate a child in front of the class? Teacher bullying gets little attention, says Stuart, I can't say his name, sorry, Twimlow, ND, a psychiatrist, who directs the Peaceful Schools and Communities Project at the Menninger Clinic in Houston. But his new study published in the International Journal of Social Psychiatry hints that the problem may be more common than people believe. In his anonymous surveys of 116 teachers at 7 elementary schools, more than 70% said they believe that bullying was isolated, but 45% admitted to having bullied a student. I was surprised at how many teachers were willing to be honest, Demslow says. He defines teacher bullying as using power to punish, manipulate, or disparage a student beyond what would be a reasonable disciplinary procedure. Tim Lowe, a former high school teacher, insists that he's not trying to degenerate a praiseworthy and often beloved profession. This is not being done to victimize or criticize teachers. There are a few bad apples, but the vast majority of teachers go beyond the call of duty. They are very committed and altruistic, which I agree with him. Nevertheless, bullying is a risk. He says when Demlow quizzed subject about bullying, some teachers reported being angry at being asked the question. He writes, but more reflective teachers realize that bullying is a hazard of teaching. Problem teacher. Robert Freeman, an elementary school principal in Fallon, Nevada, I don't know where he's from, agrees he recalls one teacher who was a notorious bully. When he came on board, other teachers inundated me with compliments about her. He says, one year I got 16 requests from parents asking me not to put their child in her class. Freeman investigated and found a cruel streak. When elementary students asked for explanations during lessons, she sometimes reported that the matter, didn't your parents give you the right genes? A Parent's Dilemma. Jan, a New Jersey mother who asked not to use her real name to protect her privacy, says that bullying affects the student's family too. In high school, her son began complaining that the core teacher had singled him out for tirades. Like many parents who have had mostly positive relationships with teachers, Jan believed her son was overreacting. We got into arguments at dinner. I told him just stop it. It affected his mood and it affected our relationship. Before long, Jan herself saw signs of the teacher's outburst. One day, he phoned her during a core rehearsal. He said, your son is ruining this. Jan recalls, I'm ready to kill my son. I'm driving there, and I'm ready to tell him he's grounded. When I got there, the teacher said, oh, it's fine. He was already over it. The clinician came when Jan visited another family with a daughter in the core. Jan was shocked when the girl said, oh yeah, he totally picks on your son. Why didn't Jan approach the teacher or principal? I didn't accept anything to come out of it. Everyone turned their heads because this teacher was so talented. Besides, the teacher was the gatekeeper for covered core trips. Jan worried, too, that he would badmouth her son to other teachers. The teacher's lunchroom, that's where people talk about kids. So for the next 4 years, you've poisoned them. Jan concluded that the teacher was brilliant but volatile, and she's unsure why Why was her son a lightning rod? She says maybe it was a personality clash. She asked because her younger daughter had no problem in his class. Why do teachers bully? Teachers are human, and it's unfair to expect them to never utter a hurtful word. But teachers do bully for various reasons. Experts tell WebMD a student may remind them of someone they dislike or in a surprising reversal of the teacher's pet syndrome. Insecure teachers may bully bright students out of envy. Other teachers suffer from personal problems, job burnout, martial holes, or severe behavior problems with their own children, and they take it out. They take out their frustration in class. Furthermore, in some troubled schools, students bully teachers and teachers diss it back to avoid appearing weak. Teachers are often physically scared of students, Thimble says. Teacher bullying spans the range of human behaviors, Thimble says, but he has been able to identify two categories, a tiny minority of sadistic teachers and the bully victim teachers. The sadistic teachers hack on kids in a way that indicates they might get some pleasure from it. He says that means humiliating students, hurting students' feelings, and being spiteful. For example, he remembers one teacher who repeatedly ridiculed a boy by calling him a girl's name. In an ideal world, there would be screening methods to weed out such nightmare teachers. He says, we basically feel that sadistic teachers shouldn't be teachers. For the bully victim teacher, there may be more hope, he says. This is the type of teacher who usually is passive and lets a class get out of control and responds with rage and bullying. This bully victim teachers are often absent from work. They fail to set limits, and they do a lot of referrals to the principal because they like other people to handle their problems. These teachers could benefit from training in effective classroom management, he says. Men and women are equally likely to bully, Timlo says, but this study didn't look at whether their tactics differed. One interesting finding, teachers who bully were often bullied themselves in childhood. As Timlo's study, co-researchers Peter Franklin, PhD, noted in a news release, if your early experience leads you to expect that people will not reason but respond to force, then you are at risk of recreating this situation in your classroom. Advice for parents. When abuse is physical, most parents don't hesitate to report the offending teacher. Freeman says, but many see emotional or verbal bullying as a gray area. They worry that speaking up could cause a teacher to take revenge on their child. And there's little escape. It really is on different level than kid-to-kid bullying. Timlo says the kid has no power. Don't ignore the problem, experts say. Here are some tips for handling the issue of teacher bullying. Develop a habit of talking openly about school with your child because children view teachers as authority figures. They often won't tell their parents if they're being mistreated. Parents who don't talk with their children who won't know about bullying until grades drop or a child becomes depressed. Timlo says, keep an eye out for such behavior changes. Also probe for details if your child says, Mrs. So-and-so doesn't like me, says Janet Belsley, PhD, a Middle Tennessee State University psychologically professor. That is especially true if a child rarely complains in mistreatment by others. Volunteering in class also allows a parent to keep an eye on the situation and develop relationships with the teacher. Talk with the teacher in a non-adversarial manner. If parents suspect problem, they should meet with the teacher without screaming or threatening. Attorneys, Templar says, avoid blaming and keep an open mind. After all, a child may have misinterpreted a teacher's behavior. Take a cooperative approach, says Mark Ways, Education Director for Operation Respect, a New York-based nonprofit organization that deals with bullying. A parent can say, I'm concerned. I think my child's afraid in this class. What do you think is going on? The teacher is then able to engage the conversation. Don't bring a young child Don't bring a young child, Tom Law adds, but it's fine to include a teenager who needs to be treated more like an adult. Always tell your child beforehand that you are seeing the teacher, he says, that may that way he or she won't be embarrassed to find out after the fact. A teacher meeting often solves the problems, Timlo says, but not always. A master bully will rationalize, Freeman says, and nothing changes. Take your complaint higher. And the situation doesn't if the situation doesn't improve, ask the principal to intervene. It may pay to ask for a classroom transfer. Freeman says not all principals honor such requests, but some do. Some principals let bully teachers go unchallenged, he adds. Then parents may have to go up the chain of command, for example, by filing a formal complaint with the school superintendent or school board and demanding a response. They should also keep good records of all communications and incidents. Reassure your child. Resolving a bully issue can be difficult, so support your child. Wade says, let your child know that you care and that you want to do something. That in life, we try to do things, and sometimes it takes more than one shot at it. But don't let the situation drag on for months, Belsky says. You want to try to nip it in the bud. So with that said, I wanted y'all to see kind of like what I was going through with my son. And I want y'all to see that situations like this do exist. We got to keep an open eye with our kids. And hopefully something could get done. Parents, please sign these petitions. I read this little article for y'all to see that teachers can be bullied for different reasons. It's not fair, but with cameras in these schools, in each and every one of these classes, we can know both sides of a story and we can know what's going on. Please, let's avoid our kids going into depression when they don't need to, especially when they're in a good house and there's no need for them to be depressed. Let's end this. Let's end the suicides. Let's end the violence. Let's end these kids bringing these guns to the schools, these drugs. Let's end our kids going to these corners. Let's end the need of needing so many police officers to the point where we lose our kids. Please, parents, open your eyes.